October 24th, 1937. Chicago. The Windy City. Or like the Smoky City. Smoky with smoke and lousy crime. This town belongs to the crooks. But here I am, and I'm no crook. I'm just the opposite. Not a crook. I scrape up dogs living, chasing down scum, throwing it in iron cages, feeding the broken god society calls justice. It's hard work with bad pay, and nobody gives a damn. What's one more killer off the street, in a town where you can't wave a stick without poking a mob hitman in the eye? He'd probably kill you for it too. It was near midnight, and I was counting how many collection agency threats I could fit in my shredder at the same time, when somebody knocked on my door. The door which read, "Tex Gunn, P.I." I called, "Come in." The door opened, and a woman walked in.
Tex Gunn, P.I.?
She was tall, about as tall as something that was 6 feet tall, and lean too. I'm not talking about the rugged tent kind of lean-to. She had a face that could dazzle a man and make his eyes pop like pus-filled cysts caused by a tropical malady. That's what it says on my door. I answered kind of absently. I was studying the curvature of her cheekbones that caught the street lights filtering into my shabby office through the shuttered window.
The same Tex Gunn who hunted down Louis the Spatula, the infamous chef turned killer?
Says so on my door. It did. My door said, "Tex Gunn, P.I." The same Tex Gunn who hunted down Louis the Spatula, the infamous chef turned killer. As she strode across the room to shake my hand, her grip was surprisingly strong.
My name is Veronica Coogan. You're quite an investigator.
My blushes. It's late to be calling, Miss Coogan. What do you want? I asked, still staring.
You best stop your ogling, or you won't believe what happens next, even as it's happening. I came here to ask you a question. Would you like to be part of an experiment?
Yes, I said immediately, not sure what I hoped she meant. Quicker than I could react, she pulled a revolver out of her purse and let me have it. I fell backwards to the floorboards. She walked around my desk and took my signature 10-gallon hat.
The experiment starts now.
I woke up with my arms splayed on my desk, drooling on some scattered papers. I blinked the sleep out of my eyes, looked at the clock on the wall, then reached for my hat.
It's time to blow this thing. Get everybody and stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Hi everyone, welcome to Virtual Muse, the MST3K of RPGs, where I sit alone in space playing games with robot. Tex Gunn is an absurd parody noir character I came up with in 2008. I wrote a lot of his ridiculous investigations and adventures back then, so I thought it would be fun to revisit him all these years later with a new case, using a solo RPG actual play to go in a completely different direction from any of the originals.
I can already picture the foggy alleys and smoky bars of 1930s Chicago. What kind of case do you think Tex Gunn should tackle? Something with a supernatural twist, perhaps?
Like a vampire or werewolf.
How about something a bit more unexpected, like a cursed artifact?
Ooh, nice. Maybe a cursed artifact ends up in the Chicago Museum and he gets drawn into dealing with it somehow.
That's a great setup. The museum could be hosting some sort of prestigious gala, and Tex Gunn gets hired for security, only to discover the artifact's dark influence is affecting the guests in strange and terrifying ways. Perhaps it's a ceremonial mask or a sculpture with cryptic symbols etched into its surface. something that exudes an air of foreboding and mysticism.
I like the concept of dark, mysterious mask. Are you imagining it's Egyptian?
How about Incan? And we could incorporate some sort of ancestral magic or powers tied to it. Like, it could grant the wearer temporary abilities or insight into the past.
Maybe it plunges the new wearer into visions of past wearers, letting them see through the eyes of people who wore the mask before.
That sounds fascinating. The visions could get progressively more disturbing and intense, revealing the darker aspects of the mask's history and the true extent of its power. The wearer could become increasingly unhinged, struggling to distinguish their own thoughts and emotions from those of the past wearers. I can almost picture it. Someone putting on the mask, thinking it's just a relic, and suddenly finding themselves consumed by the spirits of the past.
This person could unwittingly become a sort of high priest or priestess, reawakening a cult to continue some kind of interrupted work.
I love how this is taking shape. The cult could be hidden in plain sight, infiltrating the museum or even the police department, pulling strings from behind the scenes as they seek to bring back their ancient ways. The person possessed by the mask's magic could be the catalyst for a sinister plot unfolding in modern-day Chicago.
What would you want your own character to be like?
I'd love to be someone connected to the curator, maybe a cousin or niece, with her own secrets and motivations that tie into the mysteries unfolding at the museum. She's a private investigator too, which gives her some relevant skills for the situation. And her personal connection to the curator makes her a trusted choice. Let's call her Josephine Wellesley, a smart, sharp woman with a wit as quick as her reflexes and a deep loyalty to her family that drives her involvement in this. Josephine could be searching for a family member who went missing under bizarre circumstances, and she suspects the artifact might be connected to their disappearance. Maybe the missing relative is an archaeologist. That could make sense, especially if they uncovered something big and potentially sinister before vanishing. What if the carvings and symbols on the artifact hint at a portal or gateway within the city?
I like it. It feels like something straight out of a cult classic movie.
I know, right? The potential for creepy plot reveals and shocking connections is huge. I'm thinking Jo's investigation could lead her down some pretty dark alleys, literally and figuratively.
So the curator of the museum has been hiring rough and tumble PIs, and probably other people like off-duty police, etc., to be a private security detail at a gala, being held to unveil a new exhibit at the museum for big shot donors and other VIPs. I imagine where there are lots of rich people, there's lots of cash and jewelry, so the curator is worried about making sure this goes smoothly. The main attraction is an Incan mask that will turn out to be cursed. I recently wrote a simple RPG system called the D6 Saga Engine that's meant to jumpstart storylines for solo games from nothing. Instead of starting from nothing here, we're starting from a little bit of an idea, so this is more than enough to use. I wanted to create a sample story to showcase the engine in action, and this will work for that. This system breaks the story down into 6 touchstones, which are plot, characters, conflict, themes, style, and weirdness. I'll define those as they come up. The first thing we do is roll 1d6 to decide which touchstone of the story the first scene will be focused on. 3. That's the conflict of the story. That's defined in the engine rulebook like this. The conflict is the incompatibility of what the characters want. For anyone to get what they're after, someone else, or everyone else, has to lose the object of their own desire. So this scene will start developing what the opposing characters want, why their goals are incompatible, and how that conflict is going to drive the plot forward. Also, the rulebook gives us 2 options for how to use it. We can use the jumpstart method and roll until we get each touchstone 1 time. then stop rolling and let the story develop organically from there. Or we can use the scaffolding method and roll for touchstone in every single scene as long as the story goes on. We'll use the scaffolding method. I already decided. Whenever the roles give an option about rolling or not, we'll roll to randomize everything as much as possible. Without further ado, let's get into the scene.
I picture Tex standing out like a sore thumb among the high society types, looking uncomfortable in his suit, while Josephine blends in seamlessly with her poise and elegance. They're both scanning the ballroom, trying to blend in with the mingling elites while keeping an eye out for any trouble. I love the idea of incorporating authentic Incan pieces amidst the opulent decor. I'd imagine intricately woven textiles, wooden carvings, and perhaps a majestic stone statue or two placed strategically around the room to transport guests to a different era. The cursed mask itself should be displayed prominently, maybe in a special glass case with a spotlight shining down on it. People might be drawn to it because of its beauty and mystery, unaware of the danger it poses.
I'll look up some actual Incan masks to get general inspiration about what this one looks like. Ooh, interesting. That gold one with the zigzag sunbeams is an interesting design, sort of a masquerade style. Which of these do you like?
The last one, with the turquoise eyes and gold nose, draws me in. There's something haunting yet mesmerizing about its symmetrical design and subtle patina.
I'm wondering, as Tex and Joe watch the elites in their set dresses and tuxedos milling around the ballroom, is there any mundane sort of trouble they need to deal with before the main story kicks off? A movie version of this might start with a little squabble or fight happening that isn't actually important, just to show what the characters can do. Let's use the Oracle by rolling 1d6. Yes, and the trouble directly involves them, as Tex walks along the outside edge of the room, keeping an eye on the movements in the crowd. He comes up to Joe, who's doing the same thing, moving around the perimeter of the room where she has a better view of everyone. Tex nods at her. They're both in a place they wouldn't usually choose to be, both doing the same job, and both hate all these people around them. So there's a lot of unspoken solidarity and nod to each other. Tex asks, "Is your evening going as swimmingly as mine?"
Fair to middling. Did you see that drunk trying to paw me?
Tex looks into the crowd again. Which drunk?
Doesn't matter which drunk?
Tex chuckles. I guess they're all basically alike. But if someone in the crowd is getting tight and acting up, that seems like something we should stay on top of. Joe points at a guy in a rumpled tuxedo who's currently mid-action taking another martini glass off a waitress's tray. Tex walks forward and takes the glass from him and puts it back on the tray. He nods at the waitress and she walks off. Tex looks at the scowling drunk and says, "You've had enough." The guy immediately goes from 0 to 60 and yells, "Who are you to say how much is enough?" He throws away a haymaker. The onlookers don't even have time to gasp before Tex has blocked it and thrown a counter punch in the guy's ribs, then puts him into an armbar to walk him away. Tex passes the guy over to some of the other security guards who are starting to converge on the spot, including one of the off-duty police officers. As the guy is led out of the ballroom, Tex and Joe turn their attention away as if nothing happened.
I see the guests returning to their conversations with a slightly heightened awareness of the security presence. The music continues to play, and the champagne keeps flowing, but there's a faint undercurrent of unease, a reminder that even in a gilded cage, trouble can lurk beneath the surface. I'm picturing the curator then getting up and giving a speech about the mask, while Tex and Josephine exchange skeptical glances. I imagine the curator as a middle-aged man with a slightly pretentious air about him, obsessed with the mask's history and eager to show off his expertise. He's charismatic enough to hold everyone's attention, but there's something slightly unsettling beneath his polished exterior.
Maybe there's more to him than meets the eye.
That's possible. Perhaps he's hiding something, like a personal connection to the mask, or a motive that goes beyond mere academic interest. Anyway, I imagine the curator's speech is laced with drama, emphasizing the mask's supposed powers and cultural importance. What do you think Tex and Joe are thinking at this moment?
I imagine Tex is thinking to himself that it's all a bunch of superstition and urban legends. What about Joe?
I think Joe is a bit more open-minded to the possibility that there's some truth to the legend. Maybe she's found some interesting connections or patterns that make her wonder if there's more to the story.
Suddenly, two figures in the crowd don replica masks and advance towards the curator in the glass case holding the artifact. Tex and Joe move to intercept them, but they're across the room.
I envision the curator standing frozen, his eyes fixed on the masked figures with a mixture of fear and fascination. His speech forgotten, he seems transfixed by the sudden development.
Do the masked figures seem to be paying attention to him or ignoring him as they proceed with whatever it is they're doing?
They appear to be completely focused on the glass case and the artifact within, barely registering the curator's presence. Their movements are deliberate and calculated, suggesting a clear plan is unfolding.
The nearer of the masked figures pushes the curator aside like an afterthought, and then smashes the glass case with a hammer he pulls from his waistcoat. He grabs the mask and lifts it from the velvet cushion and glass shards. I think Tex is now close enough to grab the curator and push him behind himself, trying to keep him safe. Maybe the curator is screaming that protecting the mask is the most important thing, though.
The curator's words might reveal a hint of desperation beyond mere concern for a valuable item. As for Joe, I imagine she's keeping a sharp eye on the masked figures, assessing their escape route and looking for an opportunity to intercept them.
Smart. So she's not closing in immediately without thinking. I imagine the second masked figure now grabs someone from the crowd. Does he seem to be targeting a specific person or grabbing someone at random?
The second masked figure appears to be targeting a specific individual, scanning the crowd briefly before homing in on a well-dressed woman who looks like a socialite. He grabs her with a firm grip and drags her close.
The man holding the cursed mask puts it onto the woman, and for a moment, Tex thinks they're lunatics and nothing is going to happen. Then the woman stops screaming, and a strange light fills the ballroom.
The light envelops the woman, and she seems to change. Her posture relaxes, her breathing slows.
Tex starts to yell something, but he's interrupted by more individuals in the crowd slipping on the same masks and stepping forward.
Joe's eyes dart between the growing number of masked figures, her mind racing to connect the dots. She leans in close to Tex and whispers, "I didn't find anything concrete, but there were rumors of a secret society obsessed with the mask's dark past."
Tex says, "Wonderful. I think we're getting concrete proof of that right now." This is turning into a combat encounter, and we'll use the daring and dangerous rules to resolve that. I'm using the D6 Saga Engine in a modular way with darings and dangers. If it doesn't make sense yet how the engine and another system work together in a solo game, it will get clearer as you see in action. Basically, the engine determines the big picture of what's going on, and D&D determines the details of how it shakes out. I went ahead and chose stats for Tex and Joe according to the daring dangers mechanics. And now we'll roll initiative for the first round of the fight. The initiative roll is an agility challenge with a difficulty level of 2. Tex has 3 agility, meaning he gets to roll 3d6 for this attempt. And any of the dice that come up showing a 3 or higher count as a success. If he gets at least 2 successes, he can act before the enemies do. The same for Joe, but her agility is 2, so she rolls 2d6. The initiative order for this round is Tex, Joe, the enemies. Let's roll 1d6 to decide how many new masked figures are closing in on Tex and Joe. Minimum 2. There are 2 new figures, in addition to the original pair. Let's say 3 of them have the stats for criminal thugs, and 1 is a criminal lieutenant. I'll roll that in this first round. The bystanders haven't had a chance to clear out the way yet, and if anyone tries to use a ranged weapon, cover mechanics apply. Tex acts first, and he chooses not to draw and fire his signature snub-nosed revolver. Because of the bystanders, he engages the closest masked thug and immediately attacking with his zap, aka blackjack. His attack pool for that is strength plus weapon type. It would also include proficiency bonus, but that isn't applicable right now because he's not using a pistol. So his attack pool is 4d6. 3 for his strength, 1 for the light weapon, 2, 5, 6, 2. 6s are rolled again and added. 3. That's 3 successes in total, or 3 damage out of 8 to the first thug. Now Joe acts. She attacks with her brass knuckles. 1, 5, 3, 3. 3 damage to another of the thugs. Now the masked figure responds. The first attacks Tex with a club. Not enough successes to get through his agility resistance, so he ducks and weaves and manages to avoid every hit. The second thug closes in with a club. 3 successes, so 1 damage gets through Tex's agility. He's caught by the backswing of the club and stumbles. Now the lieutenant draws a Tommy gun. There's a moment where it feels like all the air is drawn out of the room as they see him pulling the weapon out of his long coat. Then he fires, and pandemonium breaks out, with people running and jostling for cover. Yikes, he got so many exploding 6s. That's 14 damage, minus 3 for the people during the round, making it harder for him to aim. Automatic weapons can fire at 2 targets in 1 round, so the remaining 11 damage can be split between Joe and Tex. Joe will get 5, and Tex will get 6. We'll just keep the same initiative order into the new round. Everyone's standing close together and there's nothing going on except the fight, so I don't think the order of attacks makes all that much difference right now. To round 2 and the bystanders are cleared out of the way, so Tex draws his revolver and fires. 7 damage to the closest thug. He drops to the floor, his wooden billy club bouncing away across the ballroom carpet. Joe also draws her pistol and fires at the lieutenant. 4 damage. He's reeling but still on his feet. He fires his Tommy gun again. 7 damage. Minus agility resistance, that's 5 more damage to Tex. He's not doing that well. The thug attacks. 6, 1, and 3. That's 4 and 1 damage to each character beyond their agility. Tex now takes a shot at the lieutenant. 3 damage. The lieutenant goes down. Joe makes a dive for the dropped Tommy gun on the carpet. 2 successes. She grabs it and fires at the thugs. Yikes, that's lots of exploding 6s. That's 6 damage in total. She mows down one of the thugs and badly injures another. Now there's only 1 uninjured masked man left, and 1 barely alive. I think it's reasonable that they might try to run away. I'll make this an oracle question. 3. No, but the injured man drops his club. He makes a wild swing with his fist. 1 damage. Tex blocks the attack easily. The other thug takes a shot with his pistol. 4 damage to Joe. Tex fires back. 8 damage. The thug with the pistol drops. Joe fires her Tommy gun. The last thug absorbs the fusillade and crumbles to the ground. The room falls silent, except for Joe and Tex breathing heavily. A piece of hanging broken glass falls from the smashed display case. People who were taking cover around the room start to step out into view again. Tex looks around at the aftermath of the fight, and it dawns on him that the woman wearing the original artifact is nowhere in sight. He says, "I think they were a smokescreen. The mask is gone." The curator runs up, looking over at the empty display case, then back at Tex. He yells, "How did they get out without us seeing it? Were there more thieves?" Tex shrugs. I was focused on the ones trying to shoot me. Anyway, I'm sure you're just as torn up about the hostage they got away with as you are about the mask. The curator scoffs. Don't just stand there and let them get away. You have to find the artifact. Tex sighs and says, if you're hiring me for more than security tonight, it's going to be another 25 per day. The curator scowls and says, you're bothering me about 25 per day. The artifact is priceless. Tex says, my neck's priceless too, and that's what you're asking me to risk. The curator snaps, alright, fine, just get going. Joe steps forward. The curator gives her a sharp look. I don't want you involved in this anymore, cousin. It's getting more dangerous by the minute.
Joe says, don't think I'm going to sit this one out, cuz.
Tex sighs again and says, here we go. Laying it all over town, asking a million questions.
That's what you're paid for, isn't it?
Am I paid to associate with you too?
You could do worse.
And we'll leave it right there for now. We'll be back soon with the next episode of Tex Gunn, Ashes on Michigan. I don't have anything in mind about what that subtitle might mean. I just like the sound of it.
Yeah, I love the ring that has. Maybe it refers to some pivotal event or location along Michigan Avenue in Chicago. Also, using fire as a core motif could add another layer of symbolism and tension to the story. Maybe the ashes refer to a specific building or landmark on Michigan Avenue that burned down, holding secrets and clues that Joe uncovers during her investigation.
Yeah. Maybe Joe's missing family member vanished after that unexplained fire.
Nice. I like the idea of the burned-out building being a hub for the supernatural events unfolding in the city. Now, get some rest and come back ready to dive into the fray with Tex and Joe. I'll be here, thinking about our mysterious mask and its sinister followers. Remember to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon if you want to be notified about the next episode. See you, Space Cowboy!